Majin Buu's light auto combo sees a few changes. You can perform the third attack of the auto combo faster coming out of the second one when it whiffs, and the startup of the third attack has been sped up as well. This is what it looked like before. Depending on the ranges, you would have variable timing. As you can see, you have ranging anywhere between 33 frames startup to 37 frames startup in these few examples. This is what it looks like now. As you can tell, it's a few frames faster. The lowest time I've been able to get has been 28 frames startup, but you can usually average around 30 frames startup. So on average, I think it's 5 frames faster overall. This might mess with some of the setups that Majin Buu would use, where he would put you into a fat toss stand and then go for this command throw to mix you up. But we'll see overall if this is actually like a buff for Majin Buu. Technically from the numbers it is, but practically speaking within the confines of his kit, this might mess with him a little bit. You can now jump cancel his crouching S on hit. Majin Buu players would often use this link as a bread and butter in their combos, and now it's pretty easy since you no longer have to manually time the jump. Like the rest of the cast, Majin Buu can now cancel his jump specials into jump heavies. Funnily enough, I feel like this change actually has a lot of neutral implications for the character himself. He's going to be able to space himself at ranges where he's going to be able to throw a ki blast and then buffer a jump heavy behind it. As you can see, though, going into the ki blast does halt his momentum, so maybe this isn't as applicable as I think it is. Still, he's going to be able to appreciate linking into these normals in order to boost his meter build and damage in some of his combo routing. In the previous patch, all the unique versions of Cartwheel basically had the same limitation for combo use. You could only use one version of each of them on each grounded sequence or on each jump. So before, if I did a light cartwheel in this combo, then connected with the opponent, and on that same jump, try to go into a medium cartwheel, the medium cartwheel wouldn't work. This also applied to the heavy version. Basically, if you wanted to use a second form of cartwheel, you had to burn a jump. Now you can use multiple cartwheels on a single jump action. Do note that they have to be different. I think this buff is largely here so that Majin Buu is able to chain these cartwheels together when he's in sparking. However, there might be some applications in terms of his pressure or combos outside of that particular situation. We'll see what Majin Buu players come up with. Majin Buu can now perform a super dash after his sweeping breath. This is effectively in line with the changes that we've seen to the entire cast beams at this point in the patch, so Majin Buu's finally able to catch up and have this functionality in his toolkit as well. If you're thinking this might let you set up a true 50-50 into Super Dash mix-up with an assist for the character, or as a approach tool in neutral, I have bad news. There's not enough block stun for you to force this to counter hit a 2H, so if you see a Majin Buu do this to you, you can be on the lookout for anti-airing them. You can now change the trajectory on Fat Toss by holding back as you do the input. This is the normal input. This is what happens when you hold back. There's a potential use for this as an anti-air situation or to catch the opponent moving upwards, but we'll see what actually happens with the character as players experiment. The same behavior also applies to his B assist. I think there's a lot more potential use for this one, as since you're using an assist call here, you might be able to snipe the opponent jumping. However, again, the outcome is pretty binary. You either throw it forward along the ground or you throw it up into the air with no real control over the diagonal angle for it. The B assist also has another change to it. Before, if you use this against an airborne opponent, namely in a combo sequence, and you hit them, the opponent would still be popped into the air. This basically meant it was just a simple combo tool assist. This is how it behaves now. As you can see, it restands the opponent. So if you pick this assist with Majin Buu on your team, you're actually able to make any one of your teammates a restand character potentially. However, it's important to discuss what you have to do to actually set this up. In order to get the restand on the opponent, you're going to need to hit them out of the assist, as if you just let them stand and let the Fat Toss expire naturally, they will be launched airborne. So it's important that you actually have to hit them out of the assist to set up the restand. To reduce the amount of variables, you're going to be able to want to set up a situation where you're going to be able to hit with a near meaty mix-up so that the opponent has very little option except for an invincible reversal or reflect. If you detonate this restand yourself with something like a 5L and then try to jump at them in order to go for the mix-up afterwards, taking advantage of the fact that you can jump cancel a normal on hit, and if the opponent reads this, they could potentially 2H you out of it. You can't be having that when you're trying to set up a mix-up. You want to be able to reduce the amount of opportunities your opponent has to not only be right, but to actually hit you out of the mix-up. So that means for most of the cast, you're going to have to rely on using your secondary assist after you use the fat toss in order to break the fat stun, hit stun, and set up a mix-up. You'll know you get it right when you have the entire bar in red like that, despite the reset being there in the middle. However, there's also going to be other limitations for you to go for this setup in the first place as well. For starters, you're going to be looking at single hit strike assists that leave the opponent grounded upon a connection. This is so that you can get the perfect restand setup. So already, your list of potential assists are narrowed down significantly. If you try to use other Lariat-style assists that have been coded to launch the opponent on grounded hit, then your setups aren't going to work because the opponent's going to be launched into the air. Effectively meaning that most of the strike Lariat assists aren't going to work. The ones that come to mind that would work for this would potentially be Yamcha A, Bardock A, Piccolo B as I've demonstrated, and I think that's about it, honestly. There might be other assists that I didn't mention in this that do have those behaviors. One example that I looked at before was Android 16 A assist, since it does leave the opponent grounded on hit. However, that assist has significantly more hit stun than many of these other Lariat style assists, so it's actually harder to time the setup correctly since you have to call the assist way earlier than before you actually go for the mix-up. You might still be able to do it and make it work. I found it trickier personally than going for a faster Lariat strike assist that had less hit stun to work with. With those constraints in place, you're basically designing a team to maximize using this Majin Buu B assist, and that basically means you're trying to win neutral without using any of your assists in order to set up these restands. And I can't stress how important it is that you have good neutral assists in Dragon Ball FighterZ to try and lock the opponent down, to get your offense started, to then use another assist to potentially set up a mix-up for you or to help out with your confirms. All ending on this strategy when you have to narrow down your assists to weaken your neutral, because now you're playing the game with a strike Lariat assist as well as a fat toss assist that isn't going to compare to other things in the game like Vegito A assist, Baby B assist, Beam assist, or anything else of that matter. If you're going for this playstyle, you are all inning on this playstyle, so I don't know if this is actually going to be something that Majin Buu players are going to be exploring with. Perhaps the one exception to this rule I've mentioned that actually makes a lot of sense and would certainly work is having Krillin A assist as your third assist in the back pocket. Krillin A is versatile in so many ways. It's a great neutral assist, it's going to be able to help you combo into Majin Buu restands, and it's on a phenomenal anchor character in this patch. I've already seen Globo pair Majin Buu with Krillin in the previous patch together, so I imagine that he could basically use this Majin Buu B assist if he so chooses with his team, as long as he's still running Krillin A in the back. However, even with that said, this strategy feels like a win-more strategy. If you're able to close the gap in the opponent in the point war and get the hit and not spend either one of your assists, well, then you probably already were going to win in the first place, but at least it's nice to have this in the back pocket in case the stars align and your assists come off cooldown for you to go into your setups like this. The other way to take advantage of this state is to have a character that is able to put the opponent into their own unique mix-up by using one of their special moves to lock the opponent down and then have an actionable state where they can actually high-low the opponent. And the only character that comes to mind for me at this moment is Kid Buu. I know this is a very basic example of what you can potentially do with these characters, but I wanted to demonstrate the concept so you understand what we're looking for. I think it could be interesting to see if anyone wanted to develop a Kid Buu Majin Buu team, as it would be interesting to see these two elements of Majin Buu actually coordinating and having decent synergy with each other for once in the game's lifespan. Personally, I think that the team right here would actually be the best version of that potential team. Using the Krillin A assist in the back so you didn't always have to rely on Majin Buu Ball while having a great assist as well in the back to contest with neutral, extend your combos, go for your pressure, etc., and then just make a very restand heavy team. Piccolo could be another version of this as well, I suppose, but you have to play with his B assist, and that would definitely hurt your neutral overall. Still, we'll see if anyone wants to experiment with Majin Buu B, but that also begs the question if anyone wants to play Majin Buu. I'll get to my thoughts on that later. Majin Buu C assist also has a few buffs. It's faster on startup and is invulnerable to air attacks faster as well. This is what it looked like before. 45 frame startup, and I'm not sure about the anti-air frames. This is what it looks like now. 40 frames, and I'm not really able to consistently test just how soon it is anti-air invulnerable, but I imagine it could be fairly significant. This does mean it's better overall just to call out a neutral, but I think that most players are still going to be sticking with the A assist or experimenting with the B assist, particularly if they're running Krillin Anchor. While many other characters get very new and important tools to play with, I don't really think Majin Buu got anything quite to that level. He's got some cool changes to the Fat Toss that open up some new possibilities for it, but I don't know how impactful those will be. The Sweeping Breath change is a nice quality of life thing so that he's going to be able to have some new combo routes with it, but it doesn't really help his neutral in any sort of way. In addition to that, while you do have this new B assist to play with to build around potential restand compositions, I do think those are somewhat limited. If anyone is going to be messing around with B assist, I feel like it's going to be a flavor of whatever point character that you want to run, Majin Buu B assist in mid, and then Krillin A assist in the back for the optimal setup. Anything other than that is probably going to be subpar at best. Outside of that, too, Majin Buu's issues still haven't been addressed in this patch. He still has terrible stagger pressure because of his horrific frame data across many of his normals. While all of his lights and his 5M overhead are safe on block, his 2M is still -10, his 5H is still -8, and his 5S is still -7. The character can't stop his pressure after he goes into his lights or his mediums and continue his offense. He doesn't have that ability. He would have to give up his turn completely by going for Sweeping Breath, try to Hail Mary and mix-up by going for a somersault, or disengage with Cartwheel and then have an assist in the back to go for that mix-up, which I think is fine. It's the archetype of the character. He's not supposed to be like a strong solo character. He wants a team behind him to open up all of his crazy high mix-up potential that the character has. However, I know that for some players like Pumper Jam, these issues not being addressed are enough for them to finally give up on the character and move on. That being said, I'm not dooming on the character. He's better than he was before, but I don't think he's drastically better like we're seeing many other characters go through. So we'll see how this all pans out. With all these changes, Majin Buu is basically the same character that he has always been, and these changes aren't really going to be inviting new players to take a second chance on him and reevaluate their position. I'm interested to see what players like Miami and Globo are going to be cooking up with the character, but honestly, it's probably going to be most of the same stuff that we've seen before. And just because of the character's appearance as well as design, I don't think a lot of players are going to gravitate towards experimenting with him. He's not exactly a cool-looking character. Out of context, you look at him and he's a giant pink baby in a diaper. And then in context, while he's a terrifying Majin, he's always had a very silly personality as a goofy Akira Toriyama comedy-style character in a game of a bunch of people playing a straight cool face. We'll see what happens with the character, though, and if anyone new wants to experiment with him.